Our top story tonight, some going down in November.
Wars, spending.
There has got to be something big a-brewing.
They're using geese to guard prisons in Brazil.
Does Biden know what
Immigration
Mexico
policies.
is? Would you scare Joe Biden? What are we laughing at?
I think Billy Mays was real.
I'm a world-class skeptic.
I don't know anything about Hunter Biden. I don't know who's big into cocaine and laptops. Why is that our problem?
Complete, absolute incompetence.
Like, who funds the news? It's a freaking inside job, man. That the entire world's a stage and everything's fake.
Welcome back to another episode of Touched Me Tuesdays. Carson back here with John, ladies and gentlemen. We have a lot to get to tonight, a hell of a lot to get to tonight. Before we do that, don't go anywhere, but we have a couple of shows to make folks aware of. We're going to be doing a show with the Berean Files this Friday, the 10th. I believe it's the 10th, 7 p.m. Central Time. I don't remember the topic now because we called an audible yesterday about what we were talking about. John, do you remember what we were talking? It was, do you remember what this is going to be on?
No, you sent it to me. I got to take a look back at it, but it will be good.
It will be good. Zach is a good time, super smart guy, knows his stuff. Go follow their channel if you haven't yet. It's on engaging with darkness, like having to engage with darkness. That's what he wanted to talk about.
Okay,
so
yeah, that'll be fire.
We had a different topic in mind, which hopefully we'll do later. So I don't want to spoil that for the people. But he said that this has been really on his mind lately, and it's what he wanted to talk about. So hell yeah, let's do it. So we'll be going live with them 7 p.m. Central Time, July 10th. What up, Neff Hunter? Touchy Tuesdays. And then we have a show with Andrew from 6G Agenda on July 17th, I believe, also at 7 p.m. Central Time. Topic to be determined, but if you haven't followed his show, go follow his show. Andrew knows a lot of stuff. If you're going to watch his show, bring a notepad because you will need it.
Yeah,
so,
I think that'll be on his channel. So
yeah, it will be. What did I say?
You didn't say definitively one way or the other.
My apologies. Good catch. And then we'll try to restream it if we can. Some people like that, some people don't. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Probably make its way on one of our platforms.
Yeah, I'm sure it will at some point. So, is that it? Do we have anything else coming up to make the people aware of, John?
I don't think so.
Okay, sweet. Okay, so there's been a lot of stuff going on in the news cycle this week. But before we jump into it, one of the things that I've noticed more and more lately on a personal level, and maybe this is me being an asshole, I'm not sure. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, John. Everybody, it's 2026, and the masses of people out there, everybody needs to go to therapy, and unfortunately, I am one of them. I go to therapy about twice a month, and I don't like even telling people that because I feel like one of those out there who's like, I have anxiety, I have problems, and I don't. For the record, I am not an anxious person, but I don't want to be lumped in with that segment of people, right? And one of the things that I feel like I've started to notice more and more over the last couple of years is when I talk to people, especially when and on a personal level, like I've found myself in a position where people will ask me about, like, hey, what do you think about this thing I'm doing with my life? What do you think about X, Y, whatever it happens to be, like close friends of mine. I don't know if it's because they view me as like and I'm just not a threat, so they're okay asking me what I think about things, or what it is. But friends, family, people will come to me and ask weird questions like that about, like, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? The subject matter is immaterial, but one of the things I've noticed more and more is people are telling me if I have a negative response to the way they've reacted to something, if I say, hey, I don't think the way you're reacting to this thing going on in your life is appropriate. I don't think it's okay for you to be upset at this person. They haven't tried to hurt you. I don't think it's okay that you're mad at this individual. They haven't done anything to you. And the response I've gotten back more and more over the past, I don't know, like 18 months-ish, is people will tell me, and this bothers the fire out of me, people will tell me, well, that's the way I feel, so it doesn't matter. And for me, and maybe I'm extrapolating just way too far. Maybe I'm taking this way overseas. But to me, what I hear when I hear that is on a base level, denial of an objective reality. Okay? C.S. Lewis talked about this in one of his books. I think it was maybe it was The Abolition of Man, where he's talking about textbooks that are written for children and textbooks walking children through simple things like how the English language works. This maybe is not so simple if you've taken an English class, but you understand the point. And in this book, it talks about how, like, instead of telling it, so the example he uses, I'm getting way into the weeds right out the gate here, folks. Sorry. The example he uses is when a book describes a beautiful scene to a child, they shouldn't feel good or bad about that beautiful depiction of like a waterfall because it's just a fictitious waterfall. Right? And I'm probably butchering this, but the end result of this discussion is this idea that a lot of the education, a lot of the things that the children and society on the whole is being just force-fed right now are these and a lot of them are from sources of authority, like textbooks, teachers at school, or these things telling them, hey, it doesn't matter what you feel about a thing. It doesn't matter what kind of response you have to the thing, because that's your response and that's the way you feel, and that's fine. And the point he comes to is, well, that's a big problem, because what you're doing is you're denying the fact that there is an appropriate response to a beautiful scene in nature, right? There's an appropriate response to that. Awe, wonder, being touched, whatever it happens, because it's Touch Me Tuesdays, whatever it happens to be. Right, but there's an appropriate response to like a sunset over the ocean. There's an appropriate response to a beautiful waterfall. There's an appropriate emotional response to a lot of things out there, to watching a lion take down a gazelle and tear its guts out while it's still alive. There's an appropriate response, emotional response to all of these things. And what a lot of people appear to, I'm finally getting to my point, guys. Sorry. What a lot of people appear to be force-fed to a large degree is this whole concept that, well, the way you feel is the way you feel, and it's correct because it's the way you feel. And to that, that's just bothering me an increasingly large amount, because that's just so fallacious. There are appropriate emotional responses to things that go on, things you see. If you see, Pop beating the shit out of Mima, you should be upset. Right? If you walk in on your parents having a little sexy time at 2 a.m. in the morning because you wanted a glass of water and you were hoping mommy would tell you a story and pat you night-night, you should be terrified and a little creeped out. They're fundamentally correct emotional responses to people, to situations, to nature, to all of these things. And people seem to be more and more force-fed this concept that, well, the way you feel is the way you feel, and it's appropriate because it's the way you feel. And to me, we've talked a little bit on this show, not a lot, but we've talked a little bit about the new age and the way that it's this weird self-serving movement that's pushing people farther and farther down this problematic path. And maybe we'll talk more about this when we do our show with Andrew. And maybe I'm reading so much into this, but I see a lot of this, like, just go, the way you feel is the way you feel. Go to therapy, get a diagnosis as a big part of that. I'm not saying therapy's bad. I myself partake, but I see where a lot of that stuff is headed as being a potential problem and kind of a push towards this new age movement that is problematic for a host of reasons. John, I'm going to shut the fuck up now. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, have you experienced anything like that? This whole concept of, like, the way you feel is valid because you feel that way. And a lot of times it is. Like, if you're pissed because you found yourself in a situation, like maybe you ignored somebody at a stoplight and that person was yelling and screaming and trying to get your attention, and you just kept ignoring them because you were too self-absorbed in your own music to pay them any attention. Maybe that person should be upset that you ignored them. Maybe they should be. Maybe there's an appropriate emotional response to these things out there.
Yeah, that the person who ignored him is kind of an ass. Sorry, Garrison. No, I see what you're saying, man, and like, right? Those people are the worst. What was I saying? I see what you're saying, and I kind of agree with you. It all stems out of this like weird concept that like people, I don't really know exactly where it comes from, but it's just like this idea that for whatever reason you can't be wrong. Like that there's just so much, like we put so much consequence on being wrong about a thing. And like I don't know if it's like, ego or like the way like, you look at how people have built like social media personalities online and like money gets tied. I don't know. But like when you adopt that mentality that you can't be wrong.
Yeah.
On the flip side of that, you are adopting that there is no such thing as objective truth. You're adopting the mentality that you are the standard of truth.
Right.
And that's a dangerous place to be in. And like, sorry, I'll take that off. There's a weird line that you have to strike between what you were talking about, because it's like, you can be angry about a thing, you can be sad about a thing, and like, if that's your reaction to something, that's fine. But to where you get to the point where it's like that reaction dictates my action, therefore it's correct, is asinine, it's stupid. Right.
Well, I just want to offer a little clarity there. It's where that reaction dictates what the truth is. Like that's where I see the problem.
That too. Right. But like, just because it's like you're pissed about a thing, like you can be pissed about a thing, but if that like determines like all of your, because I've had had discussions with some people in my life about this lately too, is like if that's like dictating like your reactions and how you like respond, that's a problem. Right. And like using that to like justify your like choice is really, really dangerous. I don't know if I made that point very clearly. But you see what I'm trying to say, right?
I think so. So, I mean, if I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying this whole idea of saying because I feel a certain way, that is just the truth of the matter, and letting that dictate how you act moving forward is obviously very, very problematic and very dangerous. Yes.
Yeah, and that's the in logic of the what you were ranting about.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
right?
That is
ultimately going to be used to like justify your actions.
Right. 100%.
And like, 100%. That's where I think you're looking at like what is like the objective truth or not, is like what are you doing, right?
Yeah. No, I think you're correct in that thought process. And yeah, for me, it's people see the way they feel as this ultimate capital T truth, and that is such a dangerous place to be in, because you're talking about end games here. The end game of that is a denial of any kind of objective reality. And if we can't agree on any kind of objective reality, which if we all use our emotions to dictate what objective reality is, nobody's going to agree on anything ever. There's going to be no consensus for anything. Like, there's going to be no common ground from which to launch a discussion, to launch any kind of anything. Like, it's going to make reality untenable. But I'm hearing more and more of these people. Some of them are 15 and some of them are 58 saying these things. And it's just, I don't even know how to communicate with these people anymore.
No.
I don't have any control over the way you feel, but you have control over the way you feel. So how about you get your shit together? You know? And like if somebody being honest with you upsets you, if a waterfall pisses you off, maybe you should rethink the reaction you're having to that waterfall. Maybe you should rethink why you're getting upset at just like strangers waving at you in a parking lot. None of these are examples from my real life, but you get the idea.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying, and it's inverting what like emotions I think are designed by the creator to do. Like emotions are supposed to like kind of be this guiding post to when you are like, in line or not in line with reality. Like if you feel bad about a thing, right, that should cause you to evaluate why, right?
100%.
And if that's like justified, it's supposed to be this like weird guide. Weird is a stupid word. It's just supposed to be this like guiding post of like, to keep you in check almost, right? And like you should evaluate like, hey, why does this thing like make me feel like, right? Yeah. Why am I having this reaction to this thing? And it's like, put it up as a mirror to yourself to like see if it's correct or not. And
100%.
They're trying to take that away from people and be like, oh, like you feel a certain way about a thing. Well, then like that's just automatically correct and stupid.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. What up, Andrew? 6G Agenda. If people's reality is manufactured via digital means like social media, then it benefits that system for each person to believe in their version of truth. This solidifies the echo chambers 100%, sir. And Andrew, if you're listening, would absolutely be interested on your take in how a concept like this might play into the new age at some point. Would love to hear what you think about that. So moving on from my angry rants. Actually, before we do, in keeping with that concept, I feel like I had something in here about this. Dang it.
Well, the suspense is killing me.
I know, John. I know you're just so excited to hear what I have to say that you are just bursting at the seams and bursting out the crotch.
Like, the way you do the taglines on our document is
it's hard to know.
It's hard to know, and then, like you can never gauge what you're going to say about any of these article links, and it's chaotic.
It's bad. I need to work on it. Okay, Andrew from 6G Agenda coming in hot. Yes. The whole new age is based on the whole my truth trope. This comes from the subjective reality idea, the concept you can't have good without bad or bad without good. Therefore, there's no objective reality or anything that's truly evil or good. Hell, yes. Hell yeah, Andrew. Guys, if you don't follow 6G Agenda, go follow his show. He drops so much truth over there. All right, so moving on, because I don't remember what the hell I had in here on that. This week, guys, we had a ceasefire with Iran and the Horny Strait, and I guess they attacked some boats or some shit on the Strait of Hormuz where there were allegedly some civilians, and so it appears that we're attacking Iran again. So we sent more missiles. I don't know what we use now. Missiles, tomahawks. These are all the buzzwords I hear. But we're to understand that strikes against Iran are a direct result of what they described as acts of international terrorism. The U.S. Central Command on Tuesday said American forces have been launching powerful strikes against Iran in response to attacks on 3 commercial vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz. Listen, I just don't know if this is even worth paying attention to anymore. I've always thought on some level, even still, that there's probably some usefulness in just understanding what the state of reality outside of, my little, I don't know, 10 square miles that I like move around in physically is. But at this point, what the hell is going on here? Do you know how they announced this missile strike, John? It was in a tweet. This is how we get our news now. The U.S. whatever department this is, I can't remember. It was the here it is. I finally found it. The U.S. Central Command tweeted that we've begun launching powerful strikes against boats in the Strait of Hormuz, yada yada yada, because they killed innocent civilians in an international waterway. This is our reality now. We live in a world where the U.S. government tweets to let you know what's going on. I don't even know what the end game of this is going to be. Like, is Armageddon going to come and just like the Pope's going to tweet like, yeah, guys, we're all like, what is going to happen with the dissemination of information at this point? John, what do you think about this? The news source of all truth is X. I mean, it seems like we're driving directly towards some kind of creepy technocracy. It's fun. Don't get me wrong. This is the most fun way to receive news ever. It's like the difference between like being and I guess like a fun one night stand. Like you're going to end up pregnant either way, but at least one's a lot more fun, you know? Maybe this is just the more fun version. This is the one night stand version. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the only purpose in all of these is like it's just keeping their options over. It's like we were talking with Ben the other day, and he was like, talking about how the best way to understand everything that's kind of going on in the world is to understand what the end goal is, right? Yeah. The end goal is, what Andrew was talking about, this kind of new age, like new age religion, kind of Luciferian religion thing that they're trying to, push on the masses. And that's where it's all culminating into. And like all of these different like big news events that get seeded out there are all in, it's just keeping their options over of like, hey, how is this gonna play out, right? You kind of saw that with the whole big UFC that was going on, this Iranian conflict. We might see something at the World Cup. Like they're just kind of keeping their options of how it's going to play out, what the culture is going to respond to whenever it's kind of time to actually drop the hammer into action. So it's like it's kind of useless to pay attention to like the inner workings of like the the politics, so to speak, because that doesn't matter. It's just theater to front whatever channel is going to be used to like push society into their ultimate end goal.
Hell yeah, dude. I think you're exactly right. And I think part of it too is just testing the masses out, seeing where the barometer is for what people are willing to accept, how much people are willing to change, seeing what kind of sway they have over the mass populace, because you can float something out there on on social media, and because of the way people engage with Facebook, Twitter, all these things, like you can essentially force millions of people to see a thing, to be exposed to a thing. And so it's a really easy way, especially if you buy into the whole idea of, phones monitoring you 24/7 and all that stuff. It's a super easy thing to do, to test and see how the masses are reacting to the stuff you're putting out there. And I finally found the article I was trying to pull up earlier. So do you have anything pressing, John? Otherwise, we're going to roll straight into this.
No, go for it.
All right. Stand by. What, John? What are you giggling at?
Finally found takes another 15 seconds.
I'm getting there.
Facebook ran an experiment on 689,000 people and didn't tell a single one of them.
This bitch is really dramatic, but bear with me.
Those weren't volunteers. Nobody signed up. They were literally just on the app, scrolling, liking their cousin's dumb vacation photos. And the whole time, a team of data scientists was reaching into their feeds and turning a dial, feeding some of them sadness and feeding others joy. And this wasn't to sell them stuff. It was just to see if they could change what those people felt without ever talking to them. And they could. They called it emotional contagion, and they even published it. Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences in 2014. This isn't some random file that got leaked. It's a peer-reviewed paper where they basically brag about it. And it worked. Emotions got manipulated to extremes with no conversations and no contact. Just the machine quietly deciding what a few 100,000 people were going to feel that day. You'd think somebody catches this. Cornell's name was on the study. Every university has a board, an IRB. The promise did not last long. And in this instance that happened to make it into the public awareness, nobody had to break in. Nobody hid anywhere. They wrote it up and put it in a journal and stuck a university's name on the front page. So no, the question was never, did they do it? They told us they did it. The question is, how the hell is this still legal now? And why almost none of us even flinched?
Okay. Outside of this lady's very dramatic voice, which for some reason bothers me. I don't understand why. Outside of her aggressively dramatic voice and demeanor, looking at this from a more, I guess, normie perspective, here's the thing that gets me. Everybody's worried about big tech stealing their data. You know, John, they're going to know how much your data changed the last time you measured it. They're going to know, okay? Because they can see into your phone and track how many measurements you've taken with your Apple iPhone AI. They can tell. They can tell how many pieces of hardware you bought from Lowe's or Amazon or whatever you monkey kids are doing now. I don't think any of that matters. Know my social security number. I don't give a I'm poor. I have a lot of student loans. You're welcome to them. Good luck with that, people. All right? I don't care.
Yeah, no one's taking out debt in your name.
No, they can't. That's why they can't.
Maybe that's a good defense mechanism.
It kind of is.
Good for you.
Have a zero credit score, and your life will be. You don't have to worry about credit fraud at all, people. Nobody's coming after you. But anyway, I think the real point of concern here is not so much that these people have access to your data or your information, whatever the hell people are bitching about. They know how many kids I have. Yeah, so does everybody else. You never shut up about it, which is fine. People should talk about their kids, and that's good. But the real concern here is you provided these people access to your mind. You provided these people access to your innermost workings. Like, what do you do late at night when you can't sleep and you're laying? This is what people do. They're laying in bed next to their spouse they haven't talked to all day, and then they came home and said, "Didn't text me back." And then they fight and they yell at each other and they pretend to have sex. One of them fakes it, man or woman, we don't know. One of them fakes it, and then they try to pass out because they're both so pissed at each other still. They can't sleep, and instead of talking to each other, what do? What do? They get on their phones. They're scrolling on their phones. They're not talking to their kid, their wife, their friend, their lover who nobody knows about. They scroll on their phone. This is the most intimate friend 99% of people have, except these Amish who have no social skills, so we're not worried about them. This is the most intimate partner anybody else has. It's not your data anybody needs to be worried about. That, who cares? It's the fact that these entities have access to you at 3 a.m. in the morning when you can't sleep and you haven't made up with your wife, your kid, your boss. And who do you go for comfort? Your comfort? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, whatever the kids are using these days. I don't know.
Yeah, man.
That's what scares me more than anything. John, thoughts?
Oh yeah, I mean it's what I said earlier. Is you have to understand the why to actually, like you have to understand the ultimate why to understand like why they're doing the things that they're doing, right? And you're right. Like they don't want to have your information just to have your information. It's like it has an end goal, and it has an end goal to manipulate you, and to manipulate you to what? It's what people have to look for. It's really what I think like the conspiracy theorist who talks about this kind of stuff all the time kind of misses out on, right? Because it's like they'll even kind of how that information was presented there is like the information's good and like what they're doing, but it doesn't tell you why they're doing it, and it almost promotes an adverse reaction to it. Is now you're just pissed, like, because even like that video we watched, that's exactly what it did. It doesn't explain why they're doing it.
Yeah.
And just,
Dude,
kind of
100%.
incites people into, just being pissed about it. And I think you have to, try to understand these people and understand their motives, because it'll explain a lot of things, because it's not material. Like I the more and more that I pay attention to this kind of crap, it's very obvious that it's not material, because they'd be doing almost the exact opposite of what they do.
Yeah.
It's something greater than that. It's something where you're starting to look at spiritual and metaphysical, and it starts to kind of put things into place.
Hell yeah. I can't add anything to that. 6G Agenda, now the same company has something called brain to message using AI. It can read your thoughts and transmit them to text. What the hell? That's some like high level. What's Elon Musk's thing? It's not Alpha Brain. That's Rogan. What's Elon Musk's thing? Neuralink. That's some high level like Neuralink. That's insane. That is insane. Yeah, I have nothing else to add to that, John. I mean, yeah, you're right. It's not material. They're not aiming for knowing how much in credit card debt you have. It might be easier to manipulate you knowing that, but that's not the end goal. It's not the end game.
No.
It's way deeper than that. Way deeper than that. And speaking of superficial nonsense, folks, a couple of things were in this next article/video. So this tagline is what brought me in, and the video we're about to play has nothing to do with it. California high school battles Newsom state law ordering it to change Indians' mascot, where it appears in 2024 Newsom signed some kind of into law an extension of this is a real act, the California Racial Mascot Act. This is a real act in California. The California, I'm just imagining a giant head with just massive lips. Just that's all I'm imagining when I read that. That went into effect on, he signed this in 2024, but it went into effect on Wednesday, like July 1st, which that's weird. But they're trying to get rid of an Indian mascot at some school in California. Yet another attempt to just randomly censor the masses, probably just to piss people off, to get them to focus on the wrong shit. But it's still stupid, bad, and kind of gay. All right? That's that. But, folks, here's what I think is interesting, and it's the video we're about to play. Trump is hinting at this resurgence of communism in America. And I get it. Like the Communist Party, from a mainstream perspective, the Communist Party is starting to become a bigger thing. They're starting to become a bigger part of like the Democratic Party, if you want to talk about just like mainstream politics. I get it. But to me, what excites me about this is what was the most like fun time in America to be alive, except right now? It had to be the 80s. And I wasn't alive in the 80s. My entire family was, because they're old as fuck. I wasn't alive in the 80s. And I like the idea of bringing back the Cold War because it was fun. Because people said, don't worry about the nuke, hide under your desk, because that'll help. It was a fun concept. It was exciting. You never knew if we were all going to wake up dead. You had people in storm shelters because they didn't know if tomorrow was going to be their last day. There were a lot of ugly clothes. It was a fun time to be alive. And so I like the idea of bringing back communism in an effort to bring back the Cold War. I think that's fun. I think that's exciting. Let's listen to what Trump has to say about communism. If I can get this video to play, stand by.
President Trump bringing the fight against communism to America's 250th birthday celebrations. 47 railing against the rise of socialism in the Democratic Party while declaring that it will never take hold in the United States.
We don't want communists in our country. Communism is a loser, and it always will be. The communist system is the opposite of the American system, and the communist system has never worked. Our warriors did not fight communism on battlefields across the world, only to have that menace rear its ugly head.
Okay, pause. If you skip that last sentence, okay, Trump is essentially, as an orator, is essentially an autistic person with a shitload of money. Okay, communism is bad. We don't like it. It's very bad. It's very bad. It's not good. It's very bad. Like that is the gist of what he says. Yet somehow it grabs crowds. Is this a testament to how the masses are, or what? Because it kind of works on me. Like, I think it's fun. I think it's hilarious. What do you think it is with that, John? Is it like the way they describe the hobbits in the Lord of the Rings, where they're like, they just like really simple, straightforward statements? Is this the world we're living in now, where just people we're all so that this is the kind of thing people are looking for?
I mean, yeah, it's more so just response out of massive amounts of trauma. That's kind of how they got there, you know.
Yeah.
It's like the Trump thing is that they spent, 8 years of just belittling like the normal American life, right? And Trump came in and be like, hey, that's not so bad. And like it doesn't matter, like the logical disconnect of like, hey, this guy's like nowhere close to that at all. He's like a massive, billionaire, real estate. He's never lived the normal American life, the normal American life a day in his life. Sure. It doesn't matter, right? But they created like just Nef Hunter's right on it. They created just enough chaos for where people like wanted some sense. It's essentially like cultural dopamine release. That's kind of what they did, is they created like just enough chaos and like just enough like negativity and in all aspects of people's life, to where it's like, hey, if you got like some type of entertainment and then like some type of entertainment that made you feel like your life is getting better, it works like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know.
People's
They
brains
kind
have
of
been
like
trained to function.
Yeah. They've kind of just like put the environment out there for it. Yeah.
Dude, that makes a lot of sense. I think you're right. I don't have anything to add to that either. Andrew from 6G again. Anti-data center people are being portrayed as communist. Classic. You're either a patriot and support your digital surveillance state, or you're the communist. And that's not far off of the way that worked back in the 80s either. Like, me saying it's fun aside, like that does seem to be the direction this is headed. Like, you don't want flock, on every street in your neighborhood. You're a communist and you don't care if your children are safe. Okay, some Cameron is going to be like, my Amazon package got stolen. I was buying a disinfectant for my fupa and it got stolen, so we need some cameras up in this neighborhood so that I can tell if my bleach or whatever she's buying gets stolen off her porch. Like, this is the direction we're headed.
Yeah.
All right. We already saw it happen. Like, why do you think ring cameras? Why do you think ring cameras became so popular? I had a conversation with a few people about that at work today. Talking about like home surveillance systems. That's all that is. That's all that is you're essentially inviting the technocracy into your house, into your front yard, and saying, here, observe.
Yeah.
That's fun, right? It's fun. It's fun, people.
And, they created John. They created the environment for that as well. Right. You look at back, in, basically in the last century, where it's like, you didn't really have that. You had people who people would come up to your door. Like, you had the door-to-door sales. Like, it wasn't uncommon to have like strangers just come up to your door. right? That went away, and they created the environment for that because it's like they moved, intentionally, right? Kind of dispersed like bad parts of towns, bad parts of cities into what was not that, right? And created not to where it was unbearable to live there, right? But if like, twice a year your neighbor gets their TV stolen, that's enough, right? Not so much unbearable with it you're going to leave, but just enough to where it's kind of inconvenient, and then they'll sell you something to mitigate the inconvenience.
100%. And dude, who were some of the people leading the charge on that? I'll answer my own question. The 501c3 church. Do you remember, John? And I don't know if you were, because you're a few years younger than me. It's not a lot, but this changed very quickly. Going trick-or-treating, like out in a neighborhood. Did you ever do that?
Yeah.
Okay. How quickly did we see this? And I don't know about folks in other parts of the country, but here in the Bible Belt South, people don't go trick-or-treating for Halloween anymore. They don't walk up to a stranger's house, knock on their door, and say, "Hey, bitch, give me some candy." What they do is they go to trunk or treat, which is this thing that started, I don't know, probably before I was born, but it became really popular when I was about 10, maybe, where instead of sending your kids, which is the most American thing ever, by the way, dressing your kid up in a gay outfit, telling them to walk up to a stranger's house, look that in the eye and say, "Hey, give me some candy," demanding something that doesn't deserve. Like, how American is that? I love that. It's a great holiday. Okay. But we moved away from doing that to everybody, all the churches in the area, all of them put on these trunk or treats where they get everybody. They say, "Hey guys, it's too dangerous out there. People are finding razors and apples," which who the fuck has that ever happened to? It's never happened to me. It's never happened to anybody I know. Maybe it is happening. And if it is, I'm sorry for those kids. Okay. But they use these scare tactics. People are finding razors and apples. They're putting in corn caramel balls. Like they tell you these things to scare you from going out and interacting with the community. And the churches step in and they say, "Hey guys, don't worry. Don't go meet your neighbor. Come here. Come to our parking lot. Don't go out in the community. Come to our parking lot." And you go out. They just have a bunch of cars parked in a line, and they open their trunk and they give these kids candy. I mean, is that not a massive move in that direction?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that becoming a lot more popular, especially since 2020, as they use that, as a weird justification too. I don't know. You see a lot of that just in culture in general. Like there's a generation of like millennial parents who are like not letting their kids go to like sleepovers because they'll just make the justification. Well, it's like 90% of, sexual assaults happen by somebody, so we're just going to assume everybody's a sexual predator and not let our kids go to sleepovers, which is like an insane leap of logic. It's absolutely insane. Right. And there's a lot of millennials do that. Like and like a lot of like influencer parents do that because it's like, I think the dude at Dave Ramsey, the counselor dude with the square head. I can't think of his name.
I have no idea, dude.
But like he promotes that all the time, and it's just like it's the craziest thing. Like there is like this crazy movement to just like assume everything around you is dangerous and to like live your life that way. Like obviously like we talk about a lot, but like the healthcare industry was like, yeah, dude. I mean, it's not that. It's like it's assuming that everybody is a sexual predator just because the statistics, say that everybody is a sexual predator, right? It's just like it's this weird thing of like taking like what was normal for kids in like the 90s and early 2000s. Like if you had a friend, most likely your parents knew each other. They'd send each other to stay at your houses to get a reprieve for a night, right? And like 100%. There's this weird movement towards like, hey, just don't do any of that. Like just assume everybody is what like the authority, like the government and the news tell you they are, instead of like what they are, kind of thing.
Well, and it's this concept, that remark, and I understand why it scares people, this whole idea of, sexual assaults happening by people, I get why it scares people because it's a scary concept, right? And it should, the topic should make you uncomfortable. But here's the problem with that. And here's why that information is presented in a way. And folks, it's going to sound crass and gross, so I'm going to apologize in advance, okay? But here's the deal. The statistic, like you said, John, and I don't know the exact statistic, John, you're welcome to look it up if you want. It's like 90-something% of sexual assaults occur as a result of they come from people the family knows relatively well. And to that I say, of course they do. Who else has access to those kids? Okay? In what world are strangers walking up and raping your 12? It's not happening. Okay? Yeah. People they're not that. Of course they're coming from people the family knows. Okay? They have enough and here's the problem here, all right? Is because of these instances that are rare, okay? It's not like this is happening every other day. I've known several people who have been sexually assaulted, but I can tell you just from personal experience, having met a shitload of people working in the service industry for my life, that's the drastic exception, not the norm. But here's the deal, all right? Bad things like that are going to come from people you know. How many murders happen as a result of somebody who knows someone else killing somebody they know? It all happens that way. You get pissed, you shoot your wife's lover, and you run out of the house and blow your brains across the yard. That's how this works. Okay? This is humanity, people. But the issue is, people say that, and what people take that to mean is, oh, shit, I can't let my kid go out in public. I can't let my family go out in public. I should be scared of walking down the street at Walmart. No. What that really means is creepy Uncle Ted who looks at your kid real funny, but you've known since you were 8. Okay? Maybe don't hang out with creepy Uncle Ted anymore. All right? Creepy Uncle Ted's probably not a great dude. When your kid walks up and says, creepy Uncle Ted is an ass and he touched me in the bathroom, don't laugh it off and say, little Tim Tim's a real. All right? Ask yourself the question, is Uncle Ted a creepy? Does he have a mustache? This is a good first question. Do they have a mustache? Okay, because if they have a mustache, odds are very high. They're either gay or they rape kids. Those are your two options. All right? 50-50. Okay? Yeah. If they have a mustache, be highly suspect.
Yeah. Yeah, they're telling you kind of actually, the exact opposite of what Garrison was saying in the chat. Instead of like taking the responsibility on yourself to like vet the people that you're like having around like your life and your kid's life, you should just treat them all the same. You should just like treat them all the same as if they're all like a threat to you and dangerous to you. And what that ultimately, like the reason I kind of brought that up is what I ultimately think that's going to get to is kind of, a further degradation of like community that we're already seeing, right?
100% social isolation on a grand scale.
You're now not connecting like with the people who live next door. Right. You're not, and it gets into a lot of other stuff, but it's like, you're like building this disconnect and all of it is handed to you and told to you by an authority that you don't even know.
Yeah. Dude, you're so
and it just
what if they wear sunglasses indoors? Yes. I realize it's a thing
to do. He got you there.
Yeah, I can't argue with you. I just have to accept that and move on because I can't argue with that guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, John, I mean, you're exactly right. It pushes people more towards this isolationist type lifestyle. And that's not healthy for anybody. And nor is it healthy for the development of society. I mean, you said it perfectly. It's social degradation, right? People are going to shy away from spending time with other people. And folks, look, like it or not, like people exist in communities. People are social creatures for a reason. Maybe you're the clannish type that just hangs out with your family. Maybe you're the social type that has a bunch of friends. Maybe you're an asshole like me that struggles to relate to anyone. Whatever it happens to be, you still need people. And these things like, the concept we were talking about, every rapist is somebody every person who's touched your kid is somebody yeah, those are the only people with access. All right. But you can't let that concept make you afraid of interacting with other people. If somebody's a creepy son of a bitch, treat them like a creepy son of a bitch. Don't let your kids alone around them.
No.
This is where you need to be a thinking, rational human being, though. And that whole concept's gone out the door. You know, like, people don't want to take responsibility for the fact that you sent your little girl off to Uncle Bill's house, and Uncle Bill has 2 kids that were abused growing up, and then they abused your daughter. That's how this happens. Not because you knew somebody who knew somebody who... We've gone on about this too long, but yeah. Anyway, moving on. Communism in America.
We're not going to let it happen.
But Democrats are at a crossroads as socialism is gaining steam in the party. And potential 2028 hopeful California Governor Gavin Newsom, he says that Democrats can't afford to turn away support even from self-described socialists.
I'm for addition, not subtraction. The
Yeah.
Democrat.
You want to talk about somebody who touches kids? Look at this on the left. Look at that mustache. That guy touches children, people.
The majority. I'm not offended by this notion of a big tent. And I think it's important, though, that big tent is a big tent. Because there's folks, on this side that don't want folks on that. I think we'd be better off to look at the things that bind us together.
Is Gavin Newsom a robot? I mean, John, tell me, look at this man's face. Do you think he's some kind of... Do you think he's some kind of mechanical creature? I mean, that face doesn't look real. He's got demon eyes. And he's talking to a pedophile. No comment. Okay, moving on, folks.
But not all Democrat leaders are cowering to the party's progressive wing. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro is making it clear
what
that
a
he's
big
not
nose on this one.
socialist
Look at that.
bandwagon, and even distance himself from New York's rising star, Daria-Liza Chevalier.
Her district voted for her.
Okay. Just to comment on what Gavin Newsom said, if any of the folks heard it, listen to this one more time.
Big tent. And I think it's important, though, the Democratic Party needs to be in the addition business if we're going to get back into the majority. I'm not offended by this notion of a big tent. And I think it's important, though, that big tent is a big tent. Because there's folks, on this side that don't want folks.
How is that? We need more people to get more votes, and I think it's good. I think more people are good, and I think getting more people is good because getting more people is good. And I think it's good because you'll have more people. And if you had more people, John, that's good. He speaks almost the same way Trump does. Their rhetoric is very similar. We need a lot more people. You see, a lot of people don't like the idea of getting more people in the Republican Party. I think it's very good. I say, welcome them all in. Have a big tent. Have a big tent. I like a big tent. You can fit a lot of horse in a big tent. You can do a lot of fun in a big tent. Does this not seem like a very Trump-ish way to talk?
No.
It's very strange. And the fact that he's talking to a pedophile makes this even stranger, but we'll move on. So, folks, we just finally made it out of Gay Pride Month. And boy, was it a relief, because I got very tired of seeing rainbows everywhere. They were in the sky. They were, on a lot of cars around town. They were in my bedroom. I mean, they're just everywhere, people. And so we didn't talk a lot about Pride Month on the show because who wants to do that, quite frankly? But I saw this come out on the YouTubes recently, and I couldn't help but be incensed. You guys have heard of, the Catholic Church handing out blessings, right? The Pope will bless people. You've heard of indulgences, which were blessings people paid for back in the early days. Well, guys, welcome to a new age for the church. Come on down and get your glitter blessing.
Today, we offer a glitter blessing, a recognition of the sacred beauty inherent in every person. Glitter has long been a symbol for the LGBTQI movement of gritty, sparkly hope in the face of prejudice and oppression, of joy and pride in the face of hatred and bigotry. Glitter is resilient, and tenacious. The briefest beam of sunlight causes it to shine. Glitter sparkles because it has many different broken pieces coming together, changing in every moment as the light changes. This glitter we share with each other today is a reminder that each of us, each and every one of us, is beautiful in our sacred imperfection, our ever-changing selves, our glorious plurality.
How long is it, John, before we move away from glitter blessings and just have condom blessings? I mean, we're coming so far away from any like honest to goodness any conceptual spiritual reality, like even pretending to have some kind of moral standard. I mean, how long is it going to be? How long is it going to be before we move away from talking about how glitter is strong and resilient to latex is strong and resilient, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you. Okay? And just like the OnlyFans community, it is important to stay strong in being yourself and your true identity. And so we want you to take these condoms out there. Okay? We want you to take this condom blessing out there and share it with the world. Share it with the people, okay? Fill them up with your spirit.
Oh, I didn't like that. Didn't like that at all.
Yeah, yes, nor should you, but that is exactly what this is, dude. Like, she makes it sound nicer, but it's exactly the same thing. Like, it's grosser the way I say it, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
We just dress it up in these nice, weird clothes.
Yeah, Paul was probably thinking of that chick when he wrote like in 1 Corinthians and in Thessalonians, like, don't let women speak. He's probably thinking that's probably what he was thinking of. Dude, but like in all seriousness, where that crap actually comes from is what we were talking about at the beginning of the show.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, 100%.
That's where that comes from. Right. Is that where they've, taken this idea and, I'm assuming that that's like the Methodists, but I don't know, but they've taken this idea that there is no like objective reality, there is no objective truth, right? So you can't be in violation of anything,
right?
And like that's just a massive problem. It's like, guess what? The Bible is not inclusive. It's far from it. That's reality.
Mm-hmm.
And if you feel excluded from that, there's probably a reason. And you should take that as an examination on yourself. Because guess what? If that's your standard of truth, then you're wrong.
Yeah.
If you feel excluded from that, you're wrong. And it's supposed to be an examination upon yourself. And there has just been, thankfully I will say this, it is a very minor wing of like, Christianity. That is not the majority, but there is a sect of people who have taken upon like the exact opposite conclusion that they should.
Yeah.
And it's honestly insufferable to listen to. Like I was with Garrison, turn that off.
Dude, it is. It's painful to listen to. And if you're curious, another
one. Oh, fuck.
That one, that woman works. Hold on. That woman works for the United Universalist Society of San Francisco. The Unitarian Universalist Society. I can't say that. The first Unitarian Universalist Society. And I saw that video and I got curious. So I was like, let's look at some other examples of their ministry. And this is what I found. This won't be as cringy as the last one, I don't think, but it's a specific thing he says that really touched me, guys.
So as my time here comes to an end, I want you to know that you have gently and patiently laid the feathers that will carry me forward. A set of wings that will inspire my ministry, offering me your wisdom, theological grounding, and the experience of hearing all your stories. The stories you shared about this place, this congregation, about the times that were difficult and
Don't
the
go
times
anywhere.
that were joyful, and what kept you in relationship with this community.
I know it's uncomfortable, but keep listening.
And with all this love, and it is love to reveal yourselves so deeply. I'll be successful next year.
Do you think?
These
Okay.
are the red flags of people you shouldn't have your kids around. 100%, dude. Like, what the?
Yeah, if you want an example of the 90% of people you know, that guy's the one.
Yeah,
For
both
sure.
of them are one of them.
The thing that really stuck with me from that video is and I wonder, is this the thing that priests say when they put the little boys behind the pulpit?
Unity. And with all this love,
I don't
and it
wanna listen to
is
that, man.
love to reveal yourselves
You're also
so
not
deeply.
displaying that on screen.
Love to reveal yourselves so deeply. This community. And with all this love, and it is love to reveal yourselves so deeply.
Do you think that's what the priest says right as he comes?
Jeez, dude.
I'm just asking. That is exactly what this guy is. I mean, it is love to reveal yourself so deeply. Let me tell you, the joyous love that you're going to feel when I reveal myself to you is just going to be so warm and gooey. And I mean, this guy is a creepy. Yet somehow he's in a church full of it's full of old people. I don't know who in the world is going here in good conscience. The aggregate age of the average age of the people in this congregation is probably 85, just judging by this video. But I mean, this is the kind of person that runs this religious organization. What?
This thing is called Star King. Sorry,
What?
I'm looking at your next link.
Oh, I don't know that we're gonna watch. Oh, I forgot. So
What a
these
crazy
people are
fucking
part
name.
of. Yes, John, I almost forgot about this. I'm glad you looked this up. These people are part of the Unitarian Universalism movement, which is self-described. So I pulled up their website. They have a school for ministry called Star King, which is what you're referring to, John.
Yeah.
And
Man, that is telling you that's a revelation of method if I've never seen it. Holy
100%.
Telling you
100%.
exactly
Save
what
that.
this
We'll
is
get into
all
that here in a
about.
second. But it is self-described as a liberal religion. Unitarian Universalists. Here's the full-on part. They say it right here in black and white. Unitarian. I have such a hard time with this. Unitarian Universalists do not share a creed, but are unified by their shared search for spiritual growth, as well as free and responsible search for truth and meaning. The roots of Unitarian Universalism are in Christianity, and the theology of individual Unitarian Universalists ranges widely, including, this is a religious organization, people, ranges widely including humanism, atheism, agnosticism, pantheism, deism, Christianity, feminism, Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, paganism, Buddhism, and many more. They don't believe in anything. They believe in themselves. They full on believe in themselves. That is all they're telling people. And to your point, John, the Star King imagery is very telling. You want to talk a little bit about that?
I mean, yeah, it's just saying exactly what this is actually about, just in plain letters, right? This is, straight up about, false god worship. This is crazy.
100%. 100%. And you know the way that a lot of churches will list like their core tenets, and like a lot of Christian
these are all
churches is like, we
retarded.
believe that Jesus died. We believe that, God is the one true God of all creation. We believe, in baptism, repentance, whatever it happens to be. Theirs is the inherent worth and dignity of every person. The goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. They're worshiping Superman. I mean, it's a religion devoted to Superman. Respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. How is this? I really want to go to one of these churches now and just hang out.
I couldn't bear, I was about to leave the studio when you kept playing that dude's voice on repeat. Just absolutely insufferable.
It is
like,
bad.
Like there's got to be something in the frequency of the way that guy talks by whatever, spirit he is oppressed by that has made him be such an absolute insufferable cunt that like is intolerable to like normal people, because like I just could not tolerate that. It was like hurting my it was hurting my nerves.
I've seen the way you react to people like that. Yeah, you freak out.
Just disgusting. Just you can feel something in the air. I don't know, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like a response.
Let's move on. I don't want
to how gross these people are.
I don't want to think about that guy ever again.
So
the poor souls who were walking up to that lady receiving glitter.
That's what I'm saying.
There were a couple of people who look like they've got possessed by something. Goodness.
I mean, a bunch of them were like normal looking old ladies. What in the like it was like a regular old lady you'd see at a normal church.
Yeah, weird as
but probably exactly what that old lady would be like if her grandson turned gay and made her go to a gay church. Like that's probably what was happening there. Probably.
Let's move on.
So we've got a lot. We're gonna have to cut some stuff out because it's already 8:12. We've been going for a little over an hour, and we probably have another 2 hours worth of stuff here. But here we go. What in the 9/11? I know we had a video last week where I was like, what in the 9/11 is going on? But for real, what in the 9/11 is going on with this building in New York? So somebody bought one of Pfizer's old like research facilities, I think, and they're turning it into apartment buildings. Excuse me, the former headquarters of Pfizer is being converted into apartments. And it appears that simply, I guess, just the weight of the building over time, or the additional weight of construction on top of the building, is causing the entire building to buckle and like sway back and forth, right? In New York, which means if it keeps swaying and it keeps swaying too much, it's going to tip over like a fucking domino and fall on a large portion of the city. Now, I said, what in the 9/11? For those of you who are into numerology, residents of 222, that's a 6, folks, East 44th Street, that's an 8, have been told that it's safe to return home. So I guess they started to fix the but this building is allegedly swaying so much it's at risk of falling over. A plane didn't fly into this building. They put a large crane on the side of it. And it hasn't collapsed in on itself. It's going to fall over on top of other buildings. Any comment on that, John?
I mean, honestly, not really. I think I've made my opinions very, very clear on this show that, like, obsessing about like why the buildings fell on 9/11 has gotten to the point where it's kind of, because it's like, it didn't fall the way that they told, like the way that they told you was, like it was, like this is coming from somebody who went like super autistically into, like I read like, the 9/11 Commission report. I read like the study that the University of Fairbanks did on Building 7. Like I got really autistically into this stuff, like 7 or 8 years ago, and I realized like it's kind of pointless. It's like what they told you was right. Knocking down some buildings was not the reason 9/11 happened.
100%. And in the spirit of that, we're not going to spend more time on it. It was the Jewish space. Maybe it was the Jewish space lasers.
Yeah.
I mean,
what is that? What's that lady's name? Dr. Judy.
I can't remember. Yeah.
On Building 6, I can't remember. I've got the book somewhere, I think, actually. Or maybe Robert does. I've seen the book. I've had it in my hand before, but I digress.
I'm so proud of you, John. You've seen the book?
I can't think of what that stupid lady's name is, and it's going to bother me. But
okay, moving on.
Move on. I'll just stew.
Autism aside.
No.
So I can't. Did we talk about CERN last week, John?
I don't think so. I think I put it in the doc, but we didn't get to it.
So everybody is complaining, talking. Everybody's shouting about how CERN is in the process of shutting down. And for people who haven't been heavy into this space, or people who just don't give a fuck, I think you're probably right for not giving a fuck. But everybody's been talking about how, like, maybe CERN's responsible for the Mandela effect. You know, maybe the cornucopia is gonna come back on the Fruit of the Loom underwear, and just freaking out. Allegedly, the 2008 CERN shut down right before the 2008 housing crisis. Then it shut down again in 2013 during the big financial crisis. And it's shutting down again, and everybody is freaking out because they think that reality is just going to fall apart.
I ain't muted, dude. Hold up.
This guy's so bald.
June 29th, CERN's Large Hadron Collider is scheduled to shut down until 2030. And people are starting to notice a pattern. CERN first fired up in the year 2008. Within days, Wall Street collapsed and the world was thrown into the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression. Then CERN entered its first major shutdown in 2013. Within 24 hours, a massive meteor exploded over Russia in one of the most powerful impacts in modern history. Then CERN entered its second long shutdown from 2018 to 2022. And what happened during that window? A global pandemic, worldwide lockdowns, supply chain chaos, economic meltdown, political unrest, and a world that never went back to normal. Now CERN is shutting down again, this time until 2030, as AI explodes, as wars escalate, as governments push.
Okay. Now, listen, I'm not going to claim to have an answer for whether or not CERN has anything to do with the fabric of reality, or you said if I hear another faggot say the timeline shifted, I shouldn't be held liable for my violent actions against them. That's fair. And I'm not going to claim to have any answers or really particularly deep thoughts on that. I know, like, there's weird stuff that goes on with the animals above the circumference of the Large Hadron Collider. Like cows and sheep will behave in weird ways, specifically above, like in the geographical area that sits directly above the Large Hadron Collider. Now, what does that have to do with? I don't know. Am I saying that, you know, CERN is objectively responsible for the Mandela effect or for a shift in reality? No, I have no clue. But what I do wonder, okay, if this is possible, maybe this is possible. I really have no idea. A bunch of scientists sitting in a lab jerking off at a blip on a screen doesn't seem like it's going to do a whole lot of shit to me, but they are, you know, doing rituals to Shiva and a bunch of other weird shit at CERN. So I don't know what the hell's going on. The point is, I don't know what the hell's going on here. I don't know what they're aiming for, what their end-game goal is, or what's happening. Now, what I do wonder about is if part of what's going on with all the activity at CERN, with the media and the masses of people pointing at CERN and saying, hey, do you remember how the Bernstein Bears used to be the Bernstein Bears, and there were some fucking Jews somewhere, they did this, that, and the other? Like, I wonder if part of what's going on there is the powers that be are just trying to shift people's attention away from the simpler, the much, much, much simpler reality, which I think could be as simple as this movement away from owning anything and from objective truth.
Notice this. How did nobody notice this? You used to have a memory card, right? A BlackBerry, your iPhone. I don't know if iPhones ever had a memory card you could pop out. Androids, of course, did. They took away our memory cards and then charged us to store data. Of course, you have an option to pay for it. I'm not saying it's forced, but I mean, I got 100,000 pictures and videos on my phone. I'm paying like $8 a month to put it on the cloud. It's not the cloud. It's somebody else's computer. Here's the crazy part. That's not all. And how did we not notice that? They took away the headphone jack and then sold us $300. The whole Apple AirPod thing is a shocking rabbit hole if you see how they did that. They took away DVDs and VHSs by phasing them out. And now you stream and you pay. You don't own any videos. You stream. The crazy part about that, by the way, is if everything is digital, they could edit at the blink of an eye concepts, ideas, old films, and you'd never know. Especially with the advancement of AI, they could take a 20-minute segment out of the movie The Patriot and replace it with something else, so something else completely happens. Most people forget about it. We're too bombarded with information to even know what's going on. They took away our ability to fix our cars in our driveway. Now you got to take it in, man. The sensor's gone. You need a computer to read your car's computer. You want to put a new battery, or you want to put a new tail light on it or something? It's software locked to the VIN. You got to pay the cloud services of the vehicle's manufacturer to replace it. Things are getting shocking, man. Keep your head on a swivel.
Okay. Look, folks, I'm not saying that I know what's going on at CERN or that I think nothing is going on at CERN. But what I am saying, we talk a lot about on this show, specifically John talks a lot about this on the show, this idea of the sleight of hand, the distraction, and the bait and switch, right? Because what I think is really going on here, and maybe there may very well be some wild, otherworldly alien going on at CERN, but let me tell you, okay, the widely publicized rituals and events probably aren't it. Okay, they're probably not. I'm sure there's something in there. You know, we've covered it on this show before. Highly recommend going and watching that episode. But I don't think that warrants spending a ton of time looking into. But what I will say is this: look at what this guy's talking about. This whole idea of we pulled you in with this whole idea that the cloud's going to be great. You can put all your shit on the cloud. It's going to be fantastic. Guess what you're going to lose? Your ownership of all the family photos you've taken for the past 40 years that are sitting on a memory card that's the size of the tip of your. Okay, it's tiny. Why are you worried about putting that on a cloud? Okay? It's the bait and switch of saying, hey, you know, your car, it's going to be able to keep you inside the lanes because you're too much of a fat to be able to drive. You're going blind at 35 and you can't figure that shit out. So we're going to put sensors in there that make sure you and your wife stay inside the lanes. And now you can't fix your car in your driveway. You have to take it to a mechanic who then has to take out a computer that was sold to them by some giant corporation, the software for which came directly from Palantir and Peter Thiel. You see where this is going, folks? To fix your car. But you're not worried about that because you're focused on whatever's going on in Geneva, Switzerland, worrying about some scientist shutting down a big magnet. While your reality and your freedoms are being slowly eroded and stolen. You're worried about Geneva. I'm worried about Geneva. And that's what's going on with all this stuff. John, thoughts?
I mean, yeah, a little bit, agree a little bit with what you're saying there. It's like, you know, I don't know what the hell's going on there. I'm sure it's something. And, you know, when you talk about something like the Mandela effect, it's like, I'm sure it's, you know, as much like spiritual and metaphysical, you know, as it is like, you know, what that guy was talking about, just purely like technological operations.
Yeah.
You know, because in reality, I think, you know, those three are kind of intertwined at this point. You know, and the end goal and the end result is ultimately the same, right? You know, you don't know what. I'll say this in a better way. You defer your authority on what is real, right? That's the whole goal of what the Mandela effect is be like, I know something, right? But what I know isn't what is in front of me, right? Because it's been altered or changed in some way. So I have to defer that authority for what is true and what is real to something else, right? That's the whole point of it. The method and how it gets there is maybe not necessarily as important, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like that takes you to a very, very like problematic place, right? It's a massive form of like psychological manipulation, right? It's essentially, you know, I say this a lot, and you know, Owen Benjamin put this really well in his book. It's how the military like drills out its soldiers, right? Is it just gets you to the point like, hey, we're gonna tell you something, right? It's going to go against what you know to be correct and what you know to be true in your intuition. You're going to ignore it and defer that to the person telling it to you.
Mm-hmm.
And they get you to do that on a mass scale, and like people kind of make memes out of the Mandela effect, but that's kind of that's what it is, right? It's just a small kernel, and they do that all the time. That's and you get to that in like all of these like insane conspiracy stories, right? Where that element's at play too, is where it's like we're going to present you with the most absurd story that we possibly can imagine, 9/11 being one of them, and you're going to know on some level that this is just fundamentally, but you're going to ignore that and just go with the flow anyway, because it's like you've deferred your authority of like what is true, what is correct, what is right, and what is wrong. You've deferred that to someone else and something else at this point. It's not even really, I don't even think it's a person.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the root at a lot of this. And I think, you know, maybe it's not as important to figure out the methodology, at least to defend yourself against what it's actually doing.
Yeah, you're right about people's the effort to make people deny the reality that they're aware they live in.
Yeah.
There's so much work being put into that. And that's, I don't know, man. That's unnerving.
Yeah.
It's like, how easy is it to just, it's amazing how easy it is to deny what's right in front of your face.
Yeah. It's like it's rooted at so many of the cultural movements. Is like, you know, with the whole, you know, LGBTQ crap of like, hey, you have to say that obvious dude with an a dress is a pretty woman. You have to say that. You know it's not correct, but you have to say that. And it's like they try to, you know, they take so it's everywhere.
Yeah. Susan
It's
over
everywhere.
there has a nice, like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it is everywhere. And like, you know, and they get people like that was a great example in particular, because people don't even recognize that because they just get so pissed off at the whole like culture war concept. You don't actually see what they're trying to do like underneath, and that concept is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's everywhere.
100%, dude. 100%. And speaking of denying your reality, folks, it's been in the news lately. You know him, you love him. Is Mitch McConnell dead? I mean, I'm not. There's not going to even be a lot of exposition for this. The media is working very hard to try to convince people that Mitch McConnell is still alive, and quite frankly, I'm not sure that it matters, because we're talking about a walking bag of ball skin that doesn't seem to know where the f- he is anytime he walks into some kind of conference. So I'm not sure that it matters one way or another. What I'm really more concerned about and more curious about is to hear people's thoughts on whether or not, and I'll ask you this first, John, in chat. Folks who are listening, please weigh in on this, because I want to know what you guys think. Is Mitch McConnell a clone, a demon, or a old man? Which one of those is he? You've got three options.
I mean, I don't know. After our clone stream, I think a lot of those people are cloned at some point. Mitch McConnell would be a pretty easy one. You don't have to do a lot of work, right? The coding behind it would be pretty simple. I could probably figure that one out. So yeah, I don't know, man. It is like, again, regardless of the three, it's kind of the same it kind of serves the same purpose, is that you put this kind of geriatric, just, brain dead dude in front, and like you say, hey, this is the guy leading your country. They did the same thing with Biden, and people will be like, huh, that seems up, but cool. Yeah,
Right. You're exactly right.
Like, so I don't know. I don't really know.
100%.
I don't have a lot of very passionate opinions about that. Just because it's just all so absurd.
Well, I mean, from day one, when no one knew who Mitch McConnell was until that fateful speech where he walked up to the podium and just froze, right?
Yeah.
After that, everybody knew who Mitch McConnell was, but nobody knew what the fuck was going on with him. Like, nobody could tell, hey, what is going on with this man who is clearly older than Moses and is not fit to work as a bag boy in a supermarket, much less govern, a country. And I mean, there are a lot of layers to that. Like, look at the reality we've accepted where people believe that man is in charge of other people's lives and is a representative of a large group of people. That's complete nonsense. I mean, we can just throw that out the window. Like, that's insanity. But there's the, I guess, slightly deeper layer of reality where it's like, hey, this guy became famous overnight for being functionally, which is an insane thing to have happen after years and years in the public spotlight being a senator, and nobody knew who he was. And then the deeper, more sinister reality, the more sinister question of how much of this is actually real? Is this a real person? Is this a demon? Is this some kind of organic robotoid clone that's, we're just being punked with? And the fact that we've reached a point in our stage of reality where that's not even that outlandish of a question. I feel like I could walk down the street and poll people like, is Mitch McConnell a clone? Excuse me, sir. Is Mitch McConnell a clone or a demon? Nobody would look at me twice. This is the point we've reached where him being human isn't really even that much of an option anymore. This is where we're at. I don't know how to feel about that. Part of me likes it. Part of me likes this idea that we've reached a stage of the game where it's commonplace for you to be like, dude, Washington is full of a bunch of demons and pedophiles. And people are like, yeah. Like, part of that's kind of cool. But also, there's a part of me that wonders, did any of the people agreeing with me about that out in the public, John, do you think they believe that? Like, when I say to people I talk to, like at work or when I go get coffee on a Thursday, and they ask me what I think about the goings on in the world, and I'm like, guys, Washington is full of a bunch of just pedophiles, rapists, and literal demons. I mean, literal demons. And they're like, yeah. How many of them do you think actually believe that? How many of the people who just nod their head and like, dude, yeah, you're so right, actually believe that?
I mean, it's more of, I think, a good bit, but it's belief in theory. I think Corona was the linchpin of where this line gets drawn. Is like you had a lot of people in Corona who believed in like these kind of ideas of like individualism, freedom, and then kind of all the stuff conspiracy theorists kind of talk about like, hey, this is like the agenda that's getting put against you. But the moment it gets put into action, the moment that it actually starts to affect their lives, suddenly like rhetoric changes pretty quickly, right?
Immediately. Yeah, we saw it with Corona.
So it's like, and like we're in that space right now, is to where like the theoretical is like what we've been talking about in theory for the past 10, 15 years, whether it be with 9/11, alien disclosure, the Epstein thing, whatever you want to name it, like whatever, pick your conspiracy topic. Like it's slowly kind of drifting into, hey, this isn't theoretical anymore. It's slowly starting to like shift into reality, the mainstream, the culture, and like affect things in, you know, broader life.
Yeah.
I think, you know, it's a weird place to be in. And I think you're kind of seeing that kind of gap or divide at the moment of like, you have a lot of people who still are just kind of in this in the theoretical, and the people who are starting to see this actually becoming reality and affecting things.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I think you got to see like where people are when shit actually hits the fan.
That's fair, dude. His dog, he's an animatronic bot for dementia maxers. I like that. That's a Q level. That's a Q level comment.
Well, that is Q on YouTube. So
do what?
That's Q on YouTube.
Oh, is that Doofus Dog is Q on YouTube?
Yeah,
I didn't know that. I thought he had a different. Okay. Well, that got me. That got me. So, moving on from Mitch McConnell, let's talk about the weather. So, if you want to know more about weather manipulation and that concept, guys, I recommend you go back and listen to the show we did on weather modification. But there have been some regions where, and specifically this is in Brazil, this video, where there's been a prolonged drought, no rain clouds. And so the people in whatever city this is in Brazil have decided to take the matter into their own hands. They're tearing down HAARP towers in Brazil, folks. We're reaching the point where this weather modification concept is hitting the mainstream, and the people are going out and physically tearing down the towers. Now, listen, I'm not. All right, disclaimer. I'm not inciting people to violence. I'm not saying go out and tear anything down. I'm not saying go destroy anything. I am, as an impartial observer, saying I really enjoy the work people are doing with these flock cameras. I really enjoy the work people are doing with these HAARP towers. I really enjoy the work people are doing out there. I like the fact that we're seeing some level of actual visceral pushback. It's been so long. I mean, and maybe I'm just a little bit just enjoying the crumbs, the bread and circuses. Maybe this is a moment to just sit back and smile and kind of enjoy the fact that it seems like some people are out there, and I don't know how useful it is. I'm not going to pretend like I think this is driving towards some legitimate, noble end game, but I like the fact that people are out there doing. I like the fact that a bunch of adults harkened back to the days when they were, 13, 14, 17. And instead of a carton of eggs at Walmart, they got some laser pointers off of Amazon and a .22 rifle and went out there and enjoyed some vigilante justice. I like the fact that some Brazilians who probably can't read, went full-on football fan out there and just took these goalpost-sized HAARP towers to the ground through the force of nothing but sheer human will and a giant feeling of fuck you to the government and the powers that be. I like that. Impartial observer, not saying anybody should do that, but I like the fact that I enjoy. Yeah. And I don't know if it's going to lead anywhere. I don't know if it's going to make any change. I don't know if it's going to do anything good. But here's the dangerous thing, and maybe we'll start to wind down the show on this. But there's been so much talk of just the powers that be being so far beyond the reach of the people. There's so much talk of the Illuminati, the aliens, the demons, the deep state, Satan, the Jews, Erica Kirk. I mean, there's so much talk of a lot of these people being these large-scale demonic entities that nobody can do anything about. And there's nothing you can do about it. And what I think it's created is this generation of people, myself included, who have become so numb, so nihilistic, so cucked that they can't, they don't feel empowered to do anything. And even if they did, they don't want to, because they don't feel like it's going to lead to anything that's going to make a difference. And that's sad. That's sad. And so what I really enjoy seeing, is people out there doing stuff. And maybe it's not going to make a difference. Maybe the government of Brazil is going to come right back to this site and build these HAARP towers up 3 weeks from now, and there's going to be less rain in Brazil than there ever was. Maybe Peter Thiel is going to come down and give a lecture on the Antichrist in the middle of San Francisco next month and put up 180 more flock towers right there in the immediate vicinity. Maybe that's going to happen, but at least at the bare minimum, people are getting out there and doing shit again. People are getting out there and just trying to do something. Maybe it won't have a grand effect on reality. Maybe it won't change the course of events. Maybe it won't do jack, but at least people are doing things. And folks, I think that's a win. John, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Yeah, I mean, I will say element of AI, but to the actual broader point that you're making.
I mean, that's probably an AI video. Don't care. We're going to talk about the conceptual reality of it.
But to the concept, like, you know, I think we kind of got into this last week when we were talking about like the dude who was at dude down in Alabama at the town hall meeting about the flock cameras. Be like, hey, are you actually accomplishing anything here? Like, you know, I said last week is that, like, if you don't address what's actually causing it, you are wasting your time. You simply are. And like, you have to look at like the underlying motives. And like, I do like what you said, whereas like people view like the entities and the organizations of, you know, the different elite organizations that run all of this, people view them as untouchable, and like it breeds this nihilism. It's like, that's very true, and it's kind of ridiculous because it's like they need you for any of this to work. Like, they need your consent, they need your buy-in, they need you like to essentially like usher it in, right? Because it's like they can't create anything. They have to invert and destroy what's already been created. So they have to use people. And if you revoke that, then they can't they can't do it. Right. So it's like, and that gets to a level of like personal, individual, that's putting a mirror up to yourself and like, hey, like the shit that they're trying to get me to engage in, I have to not. Right. You know, and it's in a lot of facets. Like, you know, you don't like how the banking system works, you don't like how the monetary system works, and like the corporate culture is like, you sell your house, you sell your land, don't sell at interest, you know? Like, you don't like the food, you don't like the way food works, grow your own, give it to other people, right? Create like a you know, a food co-op, you know, stuff like that. Like, you know, it gets more, I think, to the way that you address that kind of like, it's more personal, and like what are you doing like in your own life than doing these like rallying around, you know, big movements to like lead a revolution or whatever, you know? Because ultimately, like, you know, that gets co-opted and used against you, right? Because like these guys knocking down those HAARP towers. Well, guess what? That's vandalism,
which
that's
is
crime.
fake, by the way, folks.
Well, yeah,
This
yeah.
video is fake.
Like, let's take the concept. Like, that's vandalism, that's crime. Let's stick them back up, and now let's stick flock cameras all around that area to make sure it doesn't happen again. You know, like I think the approach has to be more of an individual. Like, what am I doing in my own life? What am I doing in my own circle, my own community, to actually revoke the consent to the broader, you know, corruptions in the world as a whole.
I think that's the most important bit. I think the external stuff is important too. I think it's easy to write that off from our perspective because I do the same thing. Like people like you or I who tend to be more engaged in the intellectual side of things, just because I'm a yes, I don't know, but it's easy to write that side of things off. But I think that's important as well. I think you're getting at the core of where people have to wind up, but action. And I'm not talking about going and tearing down a flock camera specifically, or, you know, a HAARP tower, but action, some kind of action. And it doesn't have to be in a courtroom, because you're right. It's probably not going to go anywhere, but people doing things, not just sitting around and feeling nihilistic and sad and frustrated. And every now and then, and maybe it's me just being a toddler at heart, it's nice to see evidence of people doing things. You know, it's nice to see evidence of the fact that there are other people in and around. It's nice to have community. It's nice to have visible community. And again, that is conceptually not going to drive at the core of the problem. You're right about that. But the action will, whatever action you take. And I think the community helps. I think community is that important. And so there is a part of me that enjoys specifically like all the flock camera stuff. It's fun.
Oh yeah.
55-year-old man and a green laser pointer. That's all you need.
Yeah.
It's American. So I get your point, though. I mean, without addressing the larger issue, without revoking the consent that you hand over on the daily to these entities to essentially push you the direction they want to push you, to run your life, to harvest your spirit, you haven't solved the problem. You're 100% correct about that. But I think the communal piece, at a minimum, helps keep people from feeling as isolated as I think a lot of people do on a you know, daily or weekly basis. Like people like you and I, we have the people in the chat, we have shit going on for us. But I think there are a lot more people. I work with some of them who have nothing, and things like that. Even if it is kind of are kind of helpful to those people. I don't know. Neff Hunter sent us a video. We'll watch through this and then we'll wrap things up. So this, I believe, is about that tower in stand by, John. No, we're not there yet. This, I believe, is about that tower in New York that they're working on building, and this Moon guy put out a video about something happening on the 33rd floor. We'll take a listen. I haven't heard this before. Let's find out.
Surprise, the war with Iran.
Seconds.
Do what?
It started at 54 seconds.
Damn it. All right. Stand by. Helps if I read.
The 33rd floor. Shout out to Mitch. And then completely unrelated news.
Seriously this time.
People are now able to find these pictures, these Mandela pictures that have been missing for so long, ever since CERN was screwing around. Now that it stopped, all the pictures are back up. Isn't that wild? Yes, the same pictures of things they told us did not exist, and they were gaslighting us, telling us that we remembered it wrong. You all haven't seen me, but trust me, I'm working and you're about to see what I've been working on.
Okay. Something about the filters this guy uses do freak me out, but he has a lot of good videos on. What do you think, John? The cornucopia. You think that's real, or do you think just got some new printers at Fruit of the Loom?
I mean, I honestly don't know. It's like all of that could be so easily AI. Like AI could alter that back and forth
100%.
every other day. You know.
Yeah.
So I you'll drive yourself crazy. You know, digging into all of them. I've looked at a lot of them, and it'll fuck you up, and that's kind of the point.
I think it absolutely is. I think this Mandela effect is one of those unsolvable puzzles that you're never going to get to the bottom of, ever. You can try, but even if the idea of the Mandela effect is 100% correct, you're never going to get to the bottom of it. It's fundamentally impossible. Interesting concept, fun science fiction concept as well. You're never going to get to the bottom of that. Now, what I do find more interesting about this is that they're allegedly working on the 33rd floor of this building. To me, that screams fake news. Probably a fake story.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's in the old Pfizer headquarters, I mean, come on, folks. Guys, if you take nothing away from these Touch Me Tuesday streams, if you read the news, if you listen to the news on the Twitter, the TikTok, the Instagram, whatever your source of information is, like 95% of it's fake. And I mean that very genuinely. Very genuinely. All right, folks. That's about all we got for tonight. Thank you for listening. It's been a good time. We've had a lot of fun. If you like the show, enjoy the show, maybe you want to support the show because you're watching and you think, wow, Carson seems like a broke white trash piece of shit. You're right. I am. So go join the Patreon. It is, I believe, our lowest tier is $3 a month. Get in where you fit in over there. We've got a ton of tiers. You'll get access to some exclusive content. We're working on getting as much of that there. We're working on putting more stuff there. I'll put it that way, slowly but surely. So go join the Patreon. I thought John was going to put it up, but there it is. There's the Patreon if you're watching. So go join the Patreon. You can hop on the Discord chat. You can talk about how John's a big with us like we did today. It was a good time.
Yeah, sorry, Garrison. Didn't see
so you can get in where you fit in over there. And then as far as, go follow us on all the socials, like the stream, follow the stream, go follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all the places. And then we are on all the audio platforms. Specifically, though, if be a Spotify listener, don't be on Apple Podcasts like a weirdo. Unless you're listening on Apple Podcasts, and please don't stop. But if you are on any of them,
go to Spotify,
the show, follow the show.
We don't have access to our Apple Podcast account, so it could go away at any moment.
Well, I mean, we'll put it back up if it does, but yeah, that would suck.
Yeah.
That's a good point, John. So go to Spotify if you can.
We can log into Spotify.
Yeah. We're at the Veritas Road everywhere except for Twitter, where we're the Veritas Road Pod. For our regular listeners or people who think they may want a little bit more of the show, guys, we're going live this Friday, 7 p.m. Central Time. That's 8 p.m. Eastern with the Berean Files. We'll be talking about like having to interact with darkness from a Christian perspective, from a biblical perspective. I think that is going to be just an absolutely phenomenal time. The guys over there are great, full of information, super grounded. So I'm super excited to talk with them. It may just be Zach. I'm not sure if John, bail me out when I do that.
Jason
is going to be on this one or not.
Yeah, that'll be live on our channel at 7.
Right. And then we've got 6G Agenda coming up on July 17th. We're going on Andrew's show. That'll, I think, be at 7 p.m. on his channel, 7 p.m. Central Time on his channel. So we'll try to restream it if we can. But go check out his channel, like it, follow it, watch all of his videos because they're excellent. We've got that coming up on the 17th, 7 p.m. Central Time. Going to be talking about clones and or germ theory / terrain theory. And we still owe people some stickers. John, we're going to have a cutting party this weekend. Do you have anything going on? I don't have anything going on.
They're right here. They're right here.
We've got your stickers, Nef Hunter.
And I have the mailers, so
we're ready to send out some stickers. So guys, join the Patreon.
Process is cutting them and putting them in there.
You two will get some circumcised and uncircumcised stickers, and you'll know what we mean when you get some cut and uncut stickers because we're lazy. You may have to cut some of them yourself. So, yeah, we'll get those stickers out hopefully sooner rather than later. All right, John, did I miss anything? Is that everything? Scan the QR code in the top left-hand hand corner if you want to go to the Patreon. We missed that. You always remind me about that. You didn't remind me about that.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Oh, Tyranny, I missed your Rumble rant. Thanks, man.
Oh, dang. Yeah, Tyranny, thank you.
I need to open Rumble every now and then and read them through that way because StreamYard doesn't display them because they suck. But he sent a $5 Rumble rant. I don't know at what point in the show this was, so I can't give the context. But it's true. Everybody knows, and nobody gives a shit.
It's about Mitch McConnell being dead.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, appreciate it, Tyranny. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, dude. Sorry, we've got to keep Rumble up so we can see those rants, John.
Yeah.
That's actually that is the first time we've completely missed one. Jules was texting you and I about one we thought we had missed, but he was just watching 30 minutes behind the live. Yeah. So, Tyranny, many thanks. Did we miss anything else, John? Good catch.
I scrolled back through it.
Okay. Sweet. All right, folks. It's been a good time tonight. Thanks for listening. It's been a lot of fun. I don't know if there's anywhere to send the people. It's already dead, starting up.
I'm sending them over to Austin, Jose. So,
all right. Sweet. Guys, thanks for listening. Catch us every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Central Time for Touch Me Tuesdays. And then we go live randomly for our main shows. I don't know what else to call it. So, all right. Catch you guys next time. Bye.